But you'll find, for instance, the Rothschilds and the different female lineages, especially of the Rothschilds, are all intermarried with the royalty of the whole of Europe. And so they're really one and all the same people. So, as I say, that's a big part of it. So you have money, you have trading, you have intermarriage of very powerful families. And there's nothing better than to give your daughter, for instance, to a king, because now you're allied with that king and you take the royal titles, your offspring become the heirs down the road, and you can control things. That's a very old technique.
And all of those major dynasties were and are intermarried, and now we see Goldman Sachs heads marrying in, and the daughters of presidents marrying in, and all of those psychopathic and abusive, sadomasochistic genetic traits are then passed on and concentrated.
And you even find it's the astonishing things in history that really get to you when you find an easy example, for instance, is 9/11. Where down the road in New York, the day that it happened, George Bush's father was having a meeting with the Laden family, the Ben Laden family, because they have a corporation, the Bushes and the Laden families, to build bomb-proof structures across the world.
Yeah, that's AP. That's AP and London Guardian. Bush Sr. meeting with head of bin Laden family on morning of 9/11 at the Carlyle Group meeting.
That's right. And not only that, too, when the first 9/11 bombing took place, people forget about it. They had to basically retrofit the whole buildings to make sure they were sound. Well, it was their company that got the job to retrofit it, and it took them over a year and a half. I think that's when they laid the explosives, personally. That's what they did. I really do believe that. But anyway, there's a coincidence right there. So we go to war because with the Bush basically facing Ben Laden in the comic strips, that is. And meanwhile, the same families have a business enterprise. That's almost impossible.
And they love sick jokes to say bin Laden did it, when actually that company was in there in the buildings years before, after the 93 bombing. And in a sick way, they did bomb it.
Yeah, I mean, it really is. It's a cartoon show we're given where the Bushes and the Ladens, out of billions of people on the planet, just happen to be in a business enterprise, and the same countries end up at war and all that kind of stuff.
And then Marvin Bush was running security on the World Trade Center complex until the morning of September 11th. He'd signed over authority, and they'd gotten a new management firm.
Yes. And then you go into FDR, for instance. FDR, whose wife was a rabid communist, she loved the Soviet system. She loved the techniques of mind control that Pavlov was doing. She went over to see Pavlov, and she thought the same system should be brought to America, because although the children were not very happy and laughing and joking on the way to school, they were so orderly, and she was so impressed by this orderly, how they were orderly and collective. So, but the thing is, too, in one of her books, she put down the genealogy of FDR and herself, because she was a cousin of FDR, the intermarry, to keep power and wealth amongst themselves. And you find that the Sachs family, who initially funded Hitler to power, was a relative of FDR. And again, it's the same kind of Sachs family of Goldman Sachs, basically. You can change the name and a spelling a little bit here and there, which is a favorite trick of theirs down through the ages. But it's the same bunch, really, running the show. And he brought in a New Deal. Now, people don't realize when a president gives you an address to the nation and calls something a New Deal, he's giving you something that supersedes or replaces the Constitution.
Yeah, this is the new America. It's like with Obama saying change. This is a new deal.
Absolutely, absolutely. And that's what changes. You're right on with that, because this is the century of change. Now, these characters all know what they mean by the century of change. It's the culmination of their centuries-long war to take over a world, standardize the world, basically reduce the population to a manageable level. They've had science is at the top of the tree when it comes to their belief system. They believe that with science and sciences, then they can control
because
the whole
if you can
world.
Eradicate countries and then even individuals, there's no way to resist, because you've got a drugged-out, mindless zombie drooling, telling you about UFC fights.
Absolutely. And from the earliest times, even when Rosicrucianism, which is a front group, basically, to help the dominant group, when Rosicrucian broke out really in France, they had posters out there all over Paris one morning, and they talked about the ability to give longevity to those who would help serve them. And they were really into real chemistry, not alchemy. Alchemy was a front for them. But they were into real chemistry and real, what we call real medicine.
Yeah, they admitted that 2 days ago, that, the Chinese 4,000 years ago were in trade with America and with Africa. And the nobility of Europe always knew this. They had all the maps. They were just keeping the public in the dark during that period of re-engineering.
Absolutely, absolutely. And they can take whole chunks of history away. They've done it before, because we know darn well that there were people here in the Americas long before Columbus. And the bashed professors who come up with the evidence, too.
Well, no, they've tested the DNA of Native Americans, and it's Northern European in the last 15,000 years in the mitochondrial DNA, because they were all here intermarried. They've dug them up all over the country. The media keeps it quite quiet. They dig Vikings up every year. We'll be right back with Alan Watt, the true history of the world and what's currently happening straight ahead. I'm Alex Jones.
Hi, this is Alex Jones. Did you know that the global elite are now storing non-hybrid seeds in secret storage vaults near the Arctic Circle? Did you know that in a real meltdown, non-hybrid seeds can become more valuable than silver or gold? It's true, seeds have outperformed even gold and silver before in this country, and it's possible that could even happen again. So our friends at Solutions from Science have put together the perfect mix of non-hybrid seeds. They call it a survival seed bank, and it can produce an endless supply of nutrient-dense food for you and your family. And here's the best part. These seeds have not been genetically modified in any way, and you actually get enough seeds to plant a full-acre crisis garden. So visit them today at survivalseedbank.com. That's survivalseedbank.com, or give them a call at 877-327-0365. That's 877-327-0365. Remember, in a real crisis, non-hybrid seeds are the ultimate barter item. This is Alex Jones for survivalseedbank.com.
You worry, but only because you're paying attention. What's happening in the Gulf of Mexico illustrates an audacity toward nature. A similar audacity called GMO, or genetically modified organisms, means that the quality of commercially grown food may be compromised with our health in the balance. Now that summer's here, what better time to learn about the bounty that nature provides in wild edible food? Let author Linda Runyon show you the best-kept secret in plain sight, that food is everywhere you look. This summer, for the cost of a good meal or two out, you can literally starvation-proof yourself and your loved ones against any future craziness, and put up tons of free food, too. Whatever experiment is being run on us, you can rest assured that Linda's 50 or so staple foods aren't involved. Our foods are their enemy. So go to ofthefield.com or call toll-free 1-888-51-EAT-FREE and take that first step. Make your oasis of food security and nutrition now. That's OFTHEFIELD.com or call 1-888-513-2837. Start now and make 2010 your year of independence.
Hounded by debt collectors with phone calls and letters? Thinking of calling a debt relief company? Don't. Greedy lawyers and debt companies charge thousands. Why pay when you can get their solution absolutely free with New York Times best-selling author Herb Kay's #1 debt secret, the how-to on stopping the calls without paying the debt companies. Yes, free for a very limited time. Here's Herb Kay.
Don't get ripped off by credit repair companies when I can give you the information you need to do it yourself for free.
Herb K. was right. His free information helped me stop the calls and settle my debt.
What do you have to lose? Stop the calls now. Get out of debt and have more money. Get Herb K's #1 debt secret absolutely free now. Call 800-405-7850. That's 800-405-7850. 800-405-7850.
All right, Doug, Chris, Stan, and others, your calls are coming up. We're starting the next hour here in a few minutes. Alan, going back, though, not just looking at trade and money and governments that could create caste systems and organization, were very small members of Europe in the last 4,000 years, went to northern India and took over. They've tested their mitochondrial DNA, their Central and Western European. Not just that, but also the priest class of manipulation and learning how to control the population. That's a big key to this secret knowledge that's passed on as well.
Yes, the studying of, as I've always said, we see so many nature programs on television, but we don't realize that mankind has been the most studied creature on the planet for thousands of years. If you want to dominate the planet, you don't have to dominate the ants. You want to dominate people, and you have to know how people think, how they tick. And it's quite easy, actually, because the easiest thing is to go into so-called primitive societies and see the microcosm of what really matters, because everything else comes from those primitive ideas, lifestyles, taboos, and so on. You simply amplify it into a more complex system. They're really all the same. And they understand how human beings interact with each other and how they have certain emotions, how they're driven really by emotions. That's the key to it. That's what Bernays came out with too. You can literally modify the behavior of a whole continent or a whole world by pandering to these subconscious desires and emotions, and get people to buy things they don't even really, they've never thought of before, until the ads come out to make them want this thing for the first time. It's the same thing with us. We have the need to mate with people, for instance, and so people mate. They form tribes. Small tribes. The tribes have their various taboos that helps them to survive. Everyone knows the rules. You don't need police. And they're generally very self-sufficient, completely self-sufficient, in fact.
And the globalists admit, to steal your thunder, that they come in and remove the taboos and tell people to be wild and crazy, so society degenerates, so the government can come in with its new taboos and be more oppressive.
Yes, and of course we find from the 1800s, for instance, when the same organization that put Charles Darwin out there. Now, Darwin was put out there by the Royal Society. In fact, Wallace was the guy they took most of the writings about evolution from, but they also used Charles Darwin's father and grandfather's writings, because they were both writing about evolution. This is a belief system within a religion that was far, far older than Darwin. And we know the Darwins themselves practiced this religion by only intermarrying the same family, the Wedgwood family, for many generations. That was part of this religion, intermarriage with special types to try and breed special genes. And Plato actually wrote about it thousands of years before that, 2,300 years before. Plato talks about if you want good scientists, good mathematicians, then you simply intermarry a male and a female who are good at mathematics, and then take the children, interbreed them, and so on, until you're pretty well guaranteed a good mathematician. And it's the same with all other aspects of life. Well, we have that today, and we've had it for a long time. The Rothschilds are an example with that. They only marry their nieces. And so, and that used to astound me. I said, why would dynasties not change? Why not? Why wouldn't you get a guy coming along saying, well, I don't want to be a banker, Daddy. I'd rather be something else, an actor or something. It doesn't happen. They're pretty well guaranteed to be just like their father, as you say. But they also have the addition of a reinforcement of a particular education from their family and from special higher priests into their particular lineages, their histories, and their function in the world.
And then, in the pyramidal structure, there are servant specializing guilds, and these guilds then support those ruling families. And those sub-guilds also then intermarry within their strata of the pyramidal beehive system. Back in 70 seconds.
Thank you for listening to GCN. Visit GCNlive.com today.
This is Alex Jones with 5 good reasons you should consider buying a solar power generator. Number 1, new climate legislation could easily double or triple your electric bill. Number 2, our new energy czar wants to control how much power your electric company allows you to have. It's true. Total government control of electricity in the name of smart grid technology is coming. Number 3, in some areas of the country, the power grid is dangerously overloaded. And now new socialist legislation is only compounding the problem. Number 4, dangerous weather is always a threat to local grids. Every year, thousands of families lose their power from weather-related outages. Number 5, a solar power generator provides powerful backup insurance and peace of mind. Folks, I really believe in the solar power generators offered by Solutions from Science, one of my oldest sponsors. You can get more information at www.mysolarbackup.com. That's mysolarbackup.com. Remember, the government doesn't own the sun, so go to mysolarbackup.com or call